Good morning. So, just to give you a little background, and everyone who's speaking this, first of all, I applaud each one of you for making this commitment to this initiative. It's extremely vital and important in regards to our communities and our schools. I think we know every day that we read the paper and see the news and see negativity. But we also know that there are young men of color doing positive things as well. It's about trying to navigate them to be the models and citizens for the young people who might be a little bit confused and need to be led back to the right place. So just to give you a little background on the speaker in front of you today, I started out teaching in District 75. So I was there for 9 years, working with emotionally disturbed students and behavior disturbed students, many coming into 8th grade, 9th grade with the inability to read. I have a reading specialist, so that was one of the first things we did was try to empower them in regards to literacy, which is something that's happening across the board. I have about 172 schools that I oversee in Brooklyn South. And with that in mind, one of the largest errors or areas of need is in regards to literacy. And that is something that's connected not only to the students, but also to the families. What you find is that we have a lot of generational gaps happening where grandma is raising a young man and not really being attuned to our social media, which is also a huge piece of our problems that are occurring today within young men of color and what is being depicted as being a young man. I always like to make the difference. There's a huge difference between being a young male and being a young man. And not because you were born with that, in that gender does that make you a man. And that's the type of conversations that we have. And I'm really interested in sharing what I'm seeing in my elementary, middle, and high schools that are really powerful in regards to creating this difference. There are some elementary schools that have what we call a Boys to Men night. And this is where they have fathers coming in with them at night to discuss their challenges and how they've attributed their success to their children, and also how they can also mentor and adopt other children within that school community. We've had fathers bring their children to school day in many of our elementary schools happening on opening day, where we are engaging the fathers. We know for the most part our mothers are always involved, but we're looking for our fathers to assist these young men of color as well, to be able to show them that. We also have Noble, which is an organization associated with the police department. And there we're coming into our elementary schools, our middle schools, our high schools in regards to mentoring and trying to build the gaps in regards to their relationships with law enforcement. And understanding that relationship shouldn't start in handcuffs. That relationship should start prior to that, and understanding the law and learning how to advocate for one another. I have middle schools where, not to try to split anyone here because we're all on the same boat in regards to dealing with individuals, but I've had middle schools where they were subject to possible co-locations, and what they did is they generated all of their young men and their children to be able to advocate in an appropriate, positive fashion in regards to the reason and rationale of why those schools, why they needed their space. And it wasn't about us versus them, but just ultimately on why we need the space to be able to talk about the social and emotional piece and all of the other activities. You know, our young men of color don't only play basketball and sports, but they also can be academically strong. I would be remiss to not speak about my son as well, who is 19 years old and is in law school. The fact that he went to Bard High School and realized that young men of color were not prevalent in this building and started an initiative in regards to diversity. He started making sure that when he went to Ithaca College that he started the same initiative there to be able to understand that young men of color can be seen and heard and be able to be spoken to. His twin sister also has joined him in that initiative as well at Midwood High School and also at Ithaca College. So I would be remiss not to speak that there's definitely something that we all need to do, and our children are part of that initiative as well, that we need to speak into them in regards to that. We also are talking about careers in regards to speaking about CTE programs and understanding that although we know that pre-K to college is definitely an initiative here, that we also want to speak about survival skills and being able to teach our students to be able to understand that we need to have options. And without options is where we end up being cornered and making bad decisions in life. And our young men of color have been in many situations where we find that they end up being up against it, and they find that they make decisions like joining gangs and joining other negative places where they are getting love in all the wrong places. And that's something that we need to be able to show them, that from a young age that they're powerful, they're loved, that they don't have to subject themselves to being in negative situations to get attention.